What's going on YouTube? Welcome in, I am LuboATM as always, and today we are on the second part of our perk discussion. Last week we did the overrated perks and my idea of some overrated perks in Dead by Daylight. This week we're going to do some underrated perks in Dead by Daylight. So if you missed the last video, I'm going to talk about 6 perks, 3 survivor, 3 killer, that I think are underrated in the game. So my criteria for this is I look through 4 or 5 different tier lists. For the underrated ones, I have picked 3 perks that consistently sit B tier or lower, that I think are criminally underused in Dead by Daylight. So we'll start off with the survivor perks, and then we'll move on to the killer ones, and then we'll do a little sum up at the end. Again, I just want to qualify as I don't think that any of these perks are the new meta. I don't think that people should be like, well, I'll drop my chosen build at any point and start running these because Luke said so. I don't think that's the case. I just think that these are perks that are very, very good and don't get used anywhere as much as they should. Especially when you talk about like the flip side of the overrated perks, where you see most of those perks all the time, whereas you see these ones very kind of sparingly. Or you may see them, but they're more people run them in a swift. You don't see many people run them like solo queue or things like that. Again, not saying that they're frequently unused. There's some of these that are used probably more than others. I just don't think that they get enough love. So whereas the other ones were overhyped, I think these ones don't get enough love. So let's start off with the survivor perk, shall we? Right, okay, so underrated survivor perks, you'll see on the screen there, we have got Bond, we've got Counterforce, and we have Prove Thyself. So these are all perks, as I said, that sit on the tier list that I've went through, consistently set B tier or lower, and I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. So I'll go through them. I'll talk through why I think that they're underrated and what uses you can get out of them to kind of explain my thought process. And we'll start off with Bond. So on the screen there you'll see you unlock aura reading ability. People who are within 36 meters of you can see their aura, right? So a lot of people have this. If you've watched it as well, I've got a video on the channel which is Bond or Kindred video. So I've already kind of talked about Bond quite a lot in that, and I've obviously done a Kindred open-handed video in the Is It Legit Though series. So I've kind of talked about a lot of this stuff already. I just think, personally for me, I think Bond is the best kind of aura reading perk for Survivor. Kindred is good. Obviously you get a lot of information when someone's on the hook. Where everyone else is, you can make decisions based off of that. But again, it's only when people are on hook. It doesn't really help you in trial of what's going on. Bond gives you the information up to 36 meters longer if you run open-handed with it, of what's going on in your general vicinity. So you can be on a generator knowing that your teammate is being looped a tile over. You'll know they're heading your way. You'll know plenty of time to get to a safe space. If you're looking for someone, particularly like an injured person, or you're looking to take aggro, you can locate your teammates super easily with this one. Empathy is another one that's good, but I think the range on empathy actually hurts it. Like, there's not a lot you can do with information from 96 meters away. If someone's being chased at the other end of the map, it's not going to, like, it's good to see that they're there, but it's not going to influence your decisions in any way. And I think Kindred being kind of tied to only during hook states kind of hurts it, whereas Bond is active full trial anytime someone comes in a 36 meter radius, which is a big radius. Gives you all the information you need to make all the decisions you need in real time in the challenge, whether to commit to a gen, to move to a safer area, to go and take aggro. I just think it's a really underused perk in terms of what the visibility perks are for Survivor. It's part of my staples. Every Survivor build I'll run, it will always be the first 2 perks on it will be Bond and Adrenaline. I just think that the 2 of them are probably my favourite personally. And I just think that for this perk to sit constantly B tier or lower just doesn't make any sense to me in comparison to some of the ones you see in S and A tier. The next one we're going to look at is, sorry, the graphics are a wee bit weird on the screen. This is just the way the table looks on the website that I pulled the information from, is Counterforce. So Counterforce is the new Jill perk. Basically it means that you cleanse totems faster. And it stacks for each totem you cleanse, and after you finish doing that totem you see the aura of the furthest away totem from you for 4 seconds. So I think this is actually, being honest, I think this is actually a better perk than small game. And the reason is A, it gives you the speed increase, whereas now the new small game kind of like takes things away from you the more totems you do, so your field of vision gets smaller the more totems that are cleansed, whereas this is just gives you continually faster heals or cleanse speeds. I know it's not a big big amount. It's like 1 second potentially off cleansing the totem, but 1 second up to like 5 seconds or something off cleansing a totem, so it goes to 9 seconds rather than 14. But yeah, I think the fact that it physically gives you the aura of the totem, the next totem, is huge in comparison to small game. The only thing small game probably has over counter force is the counter, so you can see how many totems have been cleansed throughout the trial. But I find with small game, a lot of the time you spend more time, you get the kind of audio noise in your ear, and you spend more time looking for the totem in your surrounding area than you do, like, waste more time looking for the totem in that area because you've had like an audio pop than it would take just kind of go about your business and do what you were going to do. Whereas you find a totem with Counter Strike, you cleanse it slightly quicker, and then you automatically see where the next one is. You can go directly there, go about your business, or just keep a note of it. It's kind of similar to Detect the Hunch, but also it isn't reliant on gen pop. So I honestly think it's just, for something that, again, consistently put B tier or lower, I think it's arguably a better perk than small game. And up until the most recent chapter, really, small game was the best totem based perk survivors had. So I think it's a very tough argument between the two. I'm not saying like, oh, run this instead of small game forever. If you like small game, keep running that. But I think there is a very big conversation to be had whether what you get more value out of between small game and counter force. And I think it should be probably given a ran a little bit more, especially if you're playing in a Swift and you're trying to try to get rid of totems. If you know you've got like a no-ed or a ruin or whatever to get out of, you just get the information of where the totems are quicker. And moving on to the last one is Prove Thyself. So this is probably one of the ones I was talking about, that this one is ran a lot, but it's consistently put as a B tier or lower perk. And I know that people say like the kind of the speed increase you get from it isn't really that much of a big deal, but I cannot tell you how many times I've ran this perk and having the extra 15% gen repair speed has came in clutch when you're like 2 or 3 man in a gen, especially in like a 3 gen situation. Also, it gives you extra blood points, and let's face it, who does not love extra blood points? Blood points are just so good in every occasion. So to give you like 100% extra bonus blood point for co-op actions, and also it rewards you by giving you 15% speed repair bonus on generators, is major. And I would go out on a limb to me and say that this is probably the best gen progression perk out there. I think it's better than fast track. I would say it's probably better than like your technicians and things like that. I think this is probably, if you're looking for like a gen based perk, this is probably, unless there's one I'm glaringly obviously missing, I think Prove Thyself is probably your best bet. And I just think that it gets rated a lot lower than it probably should be most of the time. Okay, underrated perks for killers. So if you on the screen now, we'll have the 3 perks. We have Nemesis, we have Save the Best for Last, and we have Sloppy Butcher. Again, I think these, like a couple of these perks are used often. I just think they should be used more often and are incredibly good perks. Again, consistently rank between B tier and lower. Save the Best for Last is a bit different. I think a lot of people have that kind of slightly higher, but on average it landed B or lower in most of the tier lists I looked at, which kind of surprised me, so I just wanted to include it in that one for that reason. We'll kick off the discussion though with Nemesis. So basically, each time a survivor blinds you or stuns you with a pallet, or like coming out of a locker, they become your obsession. That survivor then suffers from the Oblivious status effect for 60 seconds. And their aura is revealed to you for 4 seconds. So basically, the reason why I think this perk's underrated, right? I use it a lot for like the hook your obsession challenges and things like that. But I've put, obviously, for those who don't know what the Oblivious status effect, I put that just below. So when you're oblivious, when you get the Oblivious status effect, you're unaware of the killer's whereabouts, so you don't hear the heartbeat when you're inside the terror radius. Effects rely on the terror radius to not activate or are not applied, so that's a kind of downside of it. But basically what this perk does is it gives you a boost, a benefit and an advantage for survivors using resources that they need to use to survive. So if you get stunned by a pallet, fair enough, you've had to eat the stun. Pair this perk with Enduring, the stun's virtually nothing, and then that survivor who stunned you then is oblivious for 60 seconds and you can see them for 4 seconds. So even if you've been stunned, you've seen exactly where they went. They don't know you're coming. If you've got it on a killer that does really well on indoor maps or does really well with stealth, you can take advantage of it very, very easily. Same with flashlight blinds, same with locker stuns. You're taking not taking survivors' resources away from them. They're still using it and getting the benefit, but you're getting an advantage out of them using those resources. And I think that is something that just doesn't get enough credit for this perk. In terms, I think, especially if you're going in a build that's like super aggressive, if you're just going to go super aggressive and chase, and you're playing a killer that benefits from that, I think this perk is very, very good. I think probably the reason why it probably isn't rated as high is probably because of the pattern of the new killers recently. A lot of them are very oppressive in a one-on-one chase and don't rely on you becoming stunned with things. So like people like Deathslinger, Pyramid Head, Nemesis to a degree, like you're never going to really worry about getting pallet stunned, which is the main time you'll get anything from this perk is getting pallet stunned. So if you kind of negate pallets, then this perk isn't really going to do much for you. But certainly for like standard M1 killers like your Trappers, your Wraiths, your Legions, your Onis even, you can get a lot of benefit out of this by taking the advantage you get from getting survivors using their resources. Second perk, what I talk about is save the best for last. As I said, there's a couple of tier lists that had this at an A, but there's other ones that had it rated as low as C or D tier. I just couldn't understand it. So basically, each time you hit someone who isn't your obsession with a basic attack, you gain a token. For every token, you get a stackable 5% cooldown on your successful attacks, up to 40%. If you hit a survivor who is the obsession with a basic attack, you lose 2 tokens from your stacks. When this obsession is sacrificed or killed, you can neither gain or lose any more tokens. So basically, like, this is one you'll probably see it's probably a staple on like Demogorgon players and other players and things like that. But I honestly think, see any player or any killer that has a power that you can use that power to get hits on an obsession rather than using a basic attack I don't understand why this perk isn't seen more. The amount of ground you save when in chase, if you get 8 stacks of save the best for last, you can virtually basically hit someone and then you're straight back in chase with them. So killers like Nemesis, Demogorgon, all these kind of players, all these kind of killers are all people who get a great amount of pressure and a great amount of benefit from this perk. I'm just thinking as well, Pig's another one who gets a great amount of pressure from this perk. So you can save your stacks by using your special attack to hit survivors, and then constantly have a faster and more oppressive chase. I just honestly think this is probably one of the best perks in the game. I know at Starve I did a lot of chat on it and did a lot of videos around it about how good it was, and I think everyone used it for a while, but it's kind of slipped a bit out of people's kind of mind, I think, recently. But honestly, I think this is probably one of the best killer perks in the game, and especially now as more killers are released with special abilities that you can use to conserve your stacks. I just don't understand why people don't use it more. It's such a game changer. It's pretty much a staple on my Nemesis build. Nemesis for me is pretty much the first perk I put on Nemesis every time I load into a game. And the final perk we're going to talk about is Sloppy Butcher. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about Sloppy Butcher because I think everyone knows how good a perk it is, but for some reason it just seems to get rated awful low. I think probably because it's kind of confined to basic attacks, so kind of the opposite of what we're talking about, save the best for last, with a lot of killers having special attacks, you don't get the benefit out of it. But I think having anything, if you're running any specific M1 killer, basic attacks afflicting the hemorrhage and mangled status effect is huge. So like mangled means that survivors heal 20% slower, and hemorrhage means that they give 100% extra blood, which makes it a lot easier to track. And a lot of killers you can kind of get away with M1s a lot of the time. So like, yeah, fair enough, you use your Bubbas or your Billies for your chainsaw and as your primary one. But even people who are talking about we save the best for last, like Demogorgon, you can conserve stacks with Demogorgon by using your shred, but you will primarily be M1ing people. Do you know what I mean? So like, you would still get benefit out of this perk with killers like that. Same with Nemesis, same with other people. I honestly just think it's a great perk, and I don't understand how people have been rating it B tier or lower, honestly. Okay guys, that is the the underrated perks of Dead by Daylight went through for Killer and Survivor. Sorry if I seemed a little bit distracted while going through the killers. There was a wasp flying around my room trying to sting me while I was doing the end of the video, and I only had one perk left, so I thought I'll persevere while trying to swat it away, and then dealt with it. So I'm a lot more calm now. So as always, thank you so much guys for tuning in and watching the video. Please like the video, please subscribe to the channel. Come check me out over at twitch.tv/LiboATM, where I stream a few times a week. Love to talk to each and every one of you about Dead by Daylight. Even if you want to come in and tell me what your overrated, underrated perks are, that would be excellent. And until I see you guys next time, peace.